Hi, this is Jason Nickleby, Assistant Director with the Minnesota State High School League, and this is basketball officiating training tape number 2. Again, I'm going to take a look at mechanics and our positioning relative to ruling on secondary defender plays, as well as our communication as a crew as we work through these types of situations. And again, this week, as with all of our tapes, not picking on any one official or crew or team or player, just trying to learn from these situations as we head into the holiday break with some holiday tournaments and then into the new year. So keep up the good work, off to a good start with shot clock. Continue our work on addressing rough play, rhythm, speed, balance, quickness. If those kinds of things are affected, then we do need to call a foul in those situations. So keep up the good work on that front, and in viewing these tapes, use them as a springboard for a good pregame as we head into our next set of games. So with that, let's take a look at some plays. On this first play, we have some restricted arc considerations that I just want to bring to your attention as a reminder. So first is the concept of the odd person break. Remember that anytime that we have a different number of defenders as we do offensive players, then we have an odd person break, which means that all defenders are secondary by rule. Does that mean they can't take a charge? No, they can take a charge. However, if they are secondary by rule, then they need to establish initial legal guarding position outside of the restricted area in order to take a charge. If they try to establish legal guarding position in the arc and there's contact, it would be a restricted area blocking foul in that case. In this situation, we have 3 offensive players and 3 defensive players. So we're going to judge this play like the arc isn't even there. A regular old block charge play. So we no call this initial play at the basket, which I think is proper. Doesn't appear to be much contact. It's incidental in nature. So that part is good. So we don't have a restricted area situation with an odd person break. But if we did, they're all secondary by rule, and they have to establish initial legal guarding position outside of the restricted area. Secondly, anytime we have an offensive rebound and the offensive player goes right to the basket, we have no secondary defenders in that situation either. So we're going to judge that like the arc is not there. So in this case, you see the offensive player goes right back up with it and runs into a legal defender, and this is properly no called. If this was the secondary defender that the ball handler is encountering on the way to the basket and runs into this player who's grounded into the restricted area, it would be a restricted area blocking foul. But in this case, we have an offensive rebound where the shooter goes right back to the basket, which means all defenders are primary. There's no secondary defenders, which means we're going to judge it like the arc isn't even there. In this case, the defender has legal guarding position. The contact is initiated by the offensive player, and we properly no call this as a restricted arc play. So just take a look at the restricted arc rule. A couple reminders on this play: odd person break, and no secondary defenders on offensive rebounds where they go right to the basket. On this one, we're going to have a play that gets down into the front court, initiates a drive to the basket with a blocking foul called by the lead. So first, we're in good position as a crew. We initiate a rotation as a lead with the ball settling beneath the free throw line on the bench side. So that's what we want to see mechanically. We do it under a very calm, controlled manner as a lead. So nice work there. The only thing I want to point out on this mechanically is we're in good position. We are stationary to view this contact. That is all excellent. Just slow our mechanics way down. I'm all about selling calls that need to be sold. I'm good with that. But let's slow down our spot mechanics and just be calm and controlled in that way. and then communicate with our partners about whether we're shooting two, which we should be in this case, or if we have a throw in, etc. So just slow down our spot mechanics, and um, we want to have mechanics where we signal with a fist, signal the block, and then signal to the side with two shots. Don't signal it up in the air. We don't want to have both hands in the air. So just mechanically, just something to clean up there. As far as the call itself, it appears to be a correct call. A couple pieces on this. One, remember how we established legal guarding position. The defender 2 feet on the floor facing their opponent. After that, they need to maintain it legally. She never really gets 2 feet on the floor facing her opponent, but at the time of contact, she does not need to be stationary. She does not need to be set. That kind of language is not in the rule. Um, she needs to establish legal guarding position and then maintain it legally. In this case, it appears that she slides over to the left and into the shooter, and this would be a shooting foul, which is properly called by the lead. So just remember what needs to happen to establish legal guarding position, how that needs to be maintained legally, and then if not, and contact is made, it should be a blocking foul, and that's what we have in this case. And it's outside the restricted area, so it's not a restricted arc play. And the primary official for ruling on this is the lead. It's in his primary coverage area, and he does take it. So proper call, just something to consider mechanically on slowing down our spot mechanics, and then remember what needs to happen to establish legal guarding position and then to maintain it legally. On this one, I want to talk about considerations for restricted area blocking fouls versus a regular blocking foul. In this case, we have a cut to the basket right down the middle of the paint. So this clearly is a secondary defender that this offensive player is encountering, which means this secondary defender, the only way they can take a charge is if they establish initial legal guarding position outside of the restricted area, or they rise vertically in their vertical plane within the restricted area. If you look at the replay here, you'll notice that the secondary defender does not rise vertically, and he tries to establish legal guarding position in the restricted area for the purpose of playing defense on this shot, and there is contact that is made. Now, in this case, the lead, who is in good position, he closes down and then is stationary at the time of contact, rules this as a regular blocking foul. I would say that based on watching the replay, this is more of a restricted area blocking foul because the defender does get 2 feet on the floor facing his opponent prior to this shooter leaving the ground, and there is contact that is made that is not really significant. But when we're talking about restricted area plays, if we establish initial legal guarding position as a defender in the restricted area and we're grounded at the time of contact, that is a restricted area blocking foul. So just something to remind ourselves as leads, because remember, leads are primary on this play, that if we have a case where a secondary defender is grounded in the arc and they have established their initial legal guardian position there and there's any contact at all, it is a restricted area blocking foul. And I think that's what occurs here. Either way, it's a foul, but just note the differences between a regular blocking foul and a restricted area blocking foul. And I think that's what we have in this particular case. On this one, I want to talk mechanics on handling pass and crash plays and our judgment relative to offensive fouls and player control. So you see in this case, we have a drive to the basket, and then he's going to dish the ball over to table side and run through the defender, and is properly called for an offensive foul by the lead. So first, center, we're at free throw line extended, And as this drive goes to the basket, we are going to take it all the way to the hoop mechanically and rule on contact, except in situations where there is a block charge play involving a secondary defender. In that case, the secondary defender needs to be ruled on by the lead. In this case, the secondary defender is in the paint. That's the primary coverage area for the lead, and we handle it appropriately from lead. And remember, for an offensive foul, we can use a hand behind the head, or we can use the punch signal mechanically to indicate an offensive foul. So this is really well done by the lead. This is a proper call for an offensive foul. Remember, on pass and crash, mechanically, lead is going to stick with the contact in the paint and not divert our vision out to that offensive player by the bench. That is going to be the trail, is going to handle that player. So if you look at this one more time in slow motion, remember they need to establish legal guarding position prior to this player leaving the ground, which is 2 feet on the ground facing his opponent. And if you look here, it is really tight, but he does get there in time. And remember, if we're 50-50 on these, we're going to ship with an offensive foul because they typically do get there on time. But this is a nice job by the lead of picking this up, proper call and judgment and mechanics. This play is a good example of our primary coverage areas and who's responsible for what. So you see here we have a shooting foul. The basket is good. It's the proper call for sure. But in this case, we're not involving a secondary defender. So remember, in the front court, we're going to draw a line right down the middle of the paint, and anything that's closest to the center is primary for. Anything that's closer to the lead is primary for. So you see here, we're on the other side of the basket, and the contact comes from the defender that is facing or closer to the center, which is number 4 of the defensive team. And this is a shooting foul. Again, proper call. You see here, number 4 rakes right across her elbow and she finishes, and we count the basket. But this is the center's primary responsibility. So lead, let's take another second or two, allow center to process this, and then if we need to get involved, fine. But we do just post and hold. That's good if we're going to have a whistle, if at all, in our non-primary area. Then we should just post and hold and let primary, which is the center in this case, take it to the table. So just a reminder on our primary coverage areas: be patient when it's a play that's not in your primary coverage, and make sure that the primary official takes this to the table. But this is a good job of getting this. This is a shooting foul, one we want called, and we do a nice job with that. But just work together with your crew on primary coverage and being patient and trusting your partners. A lot of pieces on this particular sequence to work through. First, we're in transition, even number of offensive players and defensive players, so no secondary defenders by rule. And we're going to rule on this play like there's no restricted arc. So that's the first piece. Second, this is a really tight play, really hard play. And coaches, they're probably not going to agree with whatever decision we make in this situation, but what we can't have is the behavior of this coach go unaddressed. We have no warning. We have no technical foul. Um, Something needs to happen in this situation. Clearly leaves the coaching box to dispute a call. A technical foul would be supported here, but at least a warning should be in the book. And Trail, you're standing right next to the coach. We can't walk away from the coach. We need to answer his questions, work with them on anything that he has on this particular play. And again, they're not going to agree with this play. It's tough. It's 50-50. Um, they're not going to agree with it, but what we can have is allow them to leave the coaching box to dispute a call without it being addressed. This has to be a warning at a minimum. If not, a technical foul would certainly be supported. And then as far as the block charge and coverage piece goes, remember, we need to get 2 feet on the ground facing our opponent and maintain it legally. And it appears to me that we move into this shooter, we slide to the left as we're taking this shot. So I'm good with a block on this play, but remember, new leads, we need to have our head turned around, facing the players the whole way down the court, and then try to get stationary to rule on this, which will help with our accuracy of our judgment, because again, this is a really tough 50-50 play. Again, coaches aren't going to agree. If you would have called a charge, the other coach wouldn't have agreed, which I'm fine with. But what we can't have is allow them to leave the coaching box to dispute calls without it being addressed. And then just remember how we cover plays in transition. Remember secondary defenders or not. Just a lot to piece together on this play, and we need to work together as a crew to manage all of these pieces. Okay, I want to talk positioning and traveling on this sequence. So we have a dribble drive into the paint from the table side, and we're going to have a traveling violation called. So first thing, I like that we work beneath this matchup as the center so that we can view space. So that is good. We should stay stationary as he makes this drive into the paint. We're just going to be more accurate on what we're seeing, but I like that we work beneath the matchup. That was good. Just stay put and officiate the dribble drive from there. And then if you watch this initial part of the drive, you'll notice that his pivot foot is the right foot. He picks it up and starts a dribble. If we do this, this is a traveling violation. So make sure we pick up the pivot foot early as the covering official, because in this case, we pick up the pivot foot to start a dribble. In this case, that would be a traveling violation. We don't call it, okay, fine. Now we move on to the rest of the dribble drive, and he picks up the ball, picks up his pivot foot that's been established, and then falls over and is properly called for a traveling violation in this case. Mechanically, again, we want to stay put and view it from where we are now, and then we're going to signal the traveling violation. Let's not be on the move. Just put our hand in the air, signal travel, and then indicate the throw-in spot. And in this particular play, we indicate that the throw-in should be on the sideline. The new trail takes the throw-in from the end line, which is correct, because remember, when we have a violation uh, in the paint, it's going to be a throw in on the end line, which is what we do here, but just slow down our mechanics. We get this right, but remember, pick up the ball handler right away if you're the covering official, establish their pivot foot, know what they can and can't do, and then take it all the way into the paint, which we do here. That's good. And then once we've called the violation, let's communicate with our partners on where the throw in will take place. On this play, we have a defensive rebound, and we're going to head down the court. And I just want to remind our centers, make sure we stay back and help. Don't bail right away. Make sure that if there's 4 or more players in the backcourt, that we stay back and help. So make sure we do that. And then we get down to the other end, and we have a turnover, and we're going to come down the court, and we will have a foul called by the new lead, properly so. So a couple things mechanically and judgment wise to consider. So on this turnover, we know we're going to get beat back. So new lead, we probably need to stop at free throw line extended and take this from a stationary position, just like we would if we were the center official in the front court. Just stop at the free throw line extended and take this play. We could get straight line potentially on this. We do get it. It is an A to B foul. He jumps from A, lands on B, plays through the shooter. So this is definitely a shooting foul. Definitely one we want called, but just maybe come to a stop at the free throw line extended and take it from a stationary position and then close. And then remember, we want to not have 2 arms in the air on foul. So one with the foul and one with the number of shots. Let's just signal the foul and then put the number of shots up after that. So good job of getting this A to B foul. That's really good. That's what we want. And then the other consideration on this play is a good no call, a basket interference. Just remember that if we grasp the net or the rim, unless the ball is within the cylinder and it makes contact and we're making contact with the net or the rim, unless the ball is within that cylinder, on or within, we're not going to have basket interference. So you see, he grabs the net accidentally, but he does grab the net, and the ball is not on or within the cylinder at the time he does that. Therefore, it is not basket interference. So we're just going to have 2 free throws on this play sequence. But review basket interference rules, and then also just reminder transition if we're going to get beat, which we probably will. The kids are 18, we're not anymore. Let's get to a stop at the free throw line extended, take it from a stationary position, and then close. On this one, let's just talk about our primary coverage areas and our initial responsibilities. We have a dribble drive right down the middle of the paint, and a secondary defender is grounded, has established legal guarding position outside of the restricted area, maintains it legally, and is run over, and this is a proper call for an offensive foul. However, this is a secondary defender in the paint. Remember, centers, the primary responsibility for ruling on this is the lead. So we need the lead to make this call. And centers, we need to just slow down our mechanics. And if we do call it or blow our whistle and have a call, just post and hold. Um, that's what we want to do. We don't want to have a blarge. We don't in this case. There's only one whistle, but slow down our mechanics. Allow the lead to take this. Proper call again, but remember, this is the lead's responsibility for ruling on block charge plays involving secondary defenders. Okay, another play where we want to take a look at primary coverages and our initial responsibilities. So we're going to have a dribble drive to the basket with a primary matchup. So this is not a secondary defender, this is the primary defender. She maintains legal guarding position all the way till the end, and she gets beat and sticks her foot out and trips the shooter. So this is a proper call for a foul. This is definitely a shooting foul. She was good right up till the very end, and then she tripped the shooter, and we do get the call, so that's good. But remember, because it's a primary matchup, we're going to draw a line right down the middle of the paint, and anything that is closest to the lead will be their responsibility, and anything that's closest to the center will be theirs. And in this case, we're spinning away from the center, so we want to defer to the lead in this particular case. And we have a double whistle on this. C does a nice job of recognizing this, putting the fist down, and allowing lead, the primary, to take it to the table. So that's good. But just slow down our mechanics a little bit, let lead have a chance to make this initial ruling, and then I think we'll be in good shape. But just remind ourselves about who's primary for what, and who's going to have first crack at a play. But ultimately, we do call the foul here, and that is proper. She does not maintain legal guarding position and she gets beat and trips the shooter. So proper job by the crew here in calling a foul, and just a reminder on our primary coverages. On this one, we have a really tight block charge play, and it's right away at the beginning of the game. Uh, Only 54 seconds in, and we already have this kind of contact to rule on, and we're ready for it. The only thing I would say is, as the trail, let's get down to the 28-foot mark, but um, we were ready to officiate right from the get-go. We can't coast into games. We have to be ready to go, and I like that we are ready. We're on top of it. We have good decisiveness on a really 50-50 tough call. So nice job with that. And just remember we have to get 2 feet on the ground facing our opponent. We can't play into them. And he does not establish legal guarding position and makes this contact. So the onus for this contact is on the defender and is properly called for a block by the trail. So good job of being ready to officiate. Good job of applying the rules the way they should be officiated. And then some other considerations. Remember, if the shot clock was above 20 seconds, we would leave it. If it's below 20, we'd reset it to 20. And because of the location of this foul, it would be at the 28-foot mark. The throw-in, that is, would be at the 28-foot mark on the bench side. So good job being ready to officiate again. Good mechanics, good judgment, and just a reminder on the throw-in spot. On this one, we have a made basket and then we have a throw in the backcourt. And the ruling by the trail is that when this throw in player tried to get back onto the court and the ball was thrown back to her, that she had not legally established on the court. Okay, so this is not a violation for leaving on your own volition. She was the thrower, so she can be out of bounds, no problem. As well as any of her teammates can be out of bounds because it is a uh, throw in that is not a spot throw in off of a foul or violation. So she can be out of bounds, but if she wants to touch the ball, she has to legally establish her position in the court by touching in bounds. And by the time she touches the ball, she has not done that. So just good job of staying vigilant on this. We can't vacate our position as trail. We need to be in our position to pick this up. And then just a reminder on the throw-in spot and the shot clock in this situation, because we have a violation by the offensive team in their backcourt that will result in a front court throw in for the new offense. We will have a throw in at the 3 foot marks outside the lane line because it's one of the four throw in spots because we have a front court throw in off of a violation. Secondly, because it is a front court throw in because of a foul or violation for the new offense, the shot clock will be set to 20 seconds in this case. So good job of staying alert and picking this up. And just a reminder on the shot clock and the throw in spot. On this last play, the offense gets into their front court and they throw the ball back out to their teammate at the top of the key. It's deflected by the defender, and then subsequently, it is also touched by the offensive player who is the first to touch the ball in their backcourt. So, this is a proper call for a violation. This is a backcourt violation because, again, we do not have a deflection rule like the college basketball does. In high school basketball, last to touch is the rule. And so in this case, the offense is last to touch, and then they are the first to touch in their backcourt, which is a violation. So well done here by the trail of picking this up. Good positioning. Nice job in that way. The other reminder, just like the previous play, we have a violation in the backcourt by the offense, which will result in a front court throw in for the new offense. So for the throw in spot, again, it's going to go to one of the four spots. Anytime we have a backcourt violation, it's going to go to one of the four spots. In this case, the closest 28-foot mark is where we're going to have the throw in. Secondly, shot clock, again, just like the last play, because we have a front court throw in coming off of a violation or foul, the shot clock will get set to 20 seconds. So, again, remind ourselves on the backcourt violation rules that it's first to touch, last to touch, etc. In this case, touched it last in the front court, first to touch in the back court. That is a violation, so well done. And then remember what we're doing with shot clock and throw-in spot when we have violations by the offense in the backcourt. Okay, that will do it for training tape number 2. Several considerations on restricted area, shot clock, throw-in spot, legal guarding position, um, and several other factors, transition, primary coverage, things that we can talk about in our pre-games leading up to our holiday tournaments and into the new year. Um, Good examples of great officiating. Again, the crews last year did a great job. Proud of them. Some things we can learn from and get better at always. And I think that's the spirit at which we want to take these training tapes. So remember, officials, for credit, view these on the Arbiter Central Hub eligibility tab, and then coaches and others can view this via the MSHSL officials YouTube account. With that, have a great weekend, have a great holiday break. Good luck, stay safe and healthy, and we will see you in 2024.